Call this meeting to order. And Marcia, if you'll start with the roll, please. Just sit closer to it.
Oh. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Deborah Alsop. Here. Nikita Anderson. Pamela Bowers. Present. Berlene Dotson. Present. Terry England. Here. Marcia is here. Anthony Hobson is a planned absence. Michelle Hopkins. Here. And Lisa Hutchins is a planned absent. Micah.
I'm here.
Ross Meyer. Here. Christy Phillips. Laura was a planned absence, but she's here, I believe. Bishop Taylor's a planned absence, and Sally Westheimer.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you for that. Thanks everyone for being here. I will share with everyone on a personal note, tonight is my 8th wedding anniversary, and Mrs. Cameron and I have a dinner reservation at 6:30. So when you see me moving through the agenda, that's the reason why. Next, we'll move to the review and approval of the minutes from the May 23rd meeting. I know they've been sent out in advance, so everyone's had an opportunity to review. Does anyone have any suggested changes for those? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? So moved. Debbie, is there a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Minutes have been approved. Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll move to the mission moment.
So, hello, everyone. As you know, we are at the height of enrollment season. You will see to your right our fabulous swag table, otherwise known as date. Please, everyone, help yourself to that. We use that in our enrollment push and outreach events. You'll see a stack of cards that you can hand out to friends and family that have a QR code on it for open enrollment. You will also see our brand new Ask Me About Preschool Promise cards. Really easy to slip in your wallet, smaller than a business card. We always hand them out at supermarkets, other events. And if, Flo, if you could model for us. We also have our Ask Me About Preschool Promise t-shirts. We'd be happy to get one of you for you at any time or any event that you go to as we're doing outreach. And then we wanted to showcase for you a snippet of the video collages that we have created for different venues, different partners, for our preschool partners and our website to encourage people to get involved.
Hi, I'm Kenitra Mathis, Deputy Director for Cincinnati Preschool Promise. Do you have a preschooler? Are you looking for a preschool? Come and talk to us. Enroll now.
Hi, my name is Florence Malone, and I am the Outreach and Enrollment Manager for Cincinnati Preschool Promise. And what I'm saying is, enroll now. We need those preschoolers to be ready for kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Freitag. I'm the CEO of 4C for Children, and we partner with the Preschool Promise to work on quality in our community and coaching providers to reach high quality for all of the children in our community. Because the first few years of life are the most important for setting you up to be a success.
Estoy aquí hoy para dejarles saber que tienen una oportunidad con Cincinnati Preschool Promise muy particular. Por favor, pónganse en contacto con Cincinnati Preschool Promise aquí, a este teléfono o a esta página de internet para ver si su hijo o su hija, su nieto, su nieta, su familia puede ir a una escuela preescolar de gratis. Nosotros los ayudaremos. Por favor, llámenos.
Hi, I'm Debbie Alsop. I'm on the board of the Preschool Promise. Enroll now. It's a great program. You will love it.
That corrected right away. So that's the preview, and the purpose of this is to make those corrections as needed. You'll see this coming to you soon.
Thanks to everyone involved in that. Next is the Executive Director's report, so we'll get right back to you, Shara.
Absolutely. So, just to give you a quick update, as you all know, and I sent a reminder email today, it is budget season. Looking at Ohio's budget, there is a rally at the State House tomorrow. Sent you all the link that Groundwork Ohio is organizing. There's also a webinar next Monday on June 26th to talk about what is happening and what is going on with the budget. I would encourage anybody that's interested, the bus will be leaving from the Free Store Food Bank for us to spend the day tomorrow talking about budget priorities. They've been outlined in here, the amendments have come. We know that this is all out of fight again to talk about and making sure that we can secure funding for children and families coming up. We will keep you updated on that every day as we get updates from the Capitol about action items that you need to do. We also have the premiere of the 2023 Kids Count Data Book. As you know, that looks at every state in the country and said, how are kids and families faring? They'll be highlighting what's happening in Ohio, and unfortunately, things are not necessarily getting better. In many cases, they're getting worse with the number of children that are still in poverty. I would encourage you next Monday from 2 to 3 to participate in that webinar if you're available. It gives you a succinct update from the Ohio Legislative Children's Caucus that includes over 45 organizations in the state. Our next priority is to complete our data and collection analysis. As you know, it's the end of the fiscal year for us, so we will be working on compiling all of that data and have an updated dashboard ready for you that we will send out for you in late July, so you know how we did this year. Also, to give you all a preview, that we've seen some snapshots of the KRA-R scores, and statewide, they are down 7 to 9 points, and that is the trend, which we knew would be coming post-pandemic, and how children are faring on those scores. We haven't seen or compiled yet all of our scores for our preschool promise students, so I don't want you to be surprised if we see that our trend follows pretty much what the statewide trend is. We will do some comparisons again this year now that we're in year 6 to compare to overall Hamilton County KRA scores as well as statewide scores, but we do anticipate seeing a second year of decline in overall kindergarten readiness of our students. We'll also be focusing for the end of the year on our communications priorities. One is promise readers. So that, you know, thank you all for everyone who did those tapings, suggested people to participate. We have enough content to go now until Preschool Promise Week in September with a new release every 2 weeks. So you will see those. They will be premiered first via Facebook Live on Thursday nights, and you will see the promo for last Thursday, which was Carolyn Jones, our CPS board member. We will also have a summer newsletter coming out that will again have another survey on a hot topic that the Communications Committee recommends, as well as an update for the general public on how we're doing here at the Promise. We will also spend our summer constructing some of our key initiatives for 2024, which is we are building out now the preschool chat schedule for the remainder of the year. Also focusing on new partnerships for social emotional learning and our parent engagement. That includes our new partnership with American Legacy Theater. I hope you saw all of the students who started to participate in that we sent in the Board of Managers updates. And also, pending approval by the board today, continuation of our Musical Journeys program. Also to announce that NACCE is having a conference in Nashville that some of our staff will be attending. We are fortunate and hopeful that we'll be receiving scholarship funds to do that through our participation in the ECEQI network, which is nationwide, convened by a group out of New York that has secured some funding for us to participate in that. I hope that you also saw either yesterday or today a really nice announcement from NPR, and congratulations to our partners at 4C for Children about the almost $2 million in funding that Hamilton County has awarded them to continue the Child Care Careers Initiative that we were proud to be a part of. So congratulations to 4C on that, and we look forward to continuing to support you as you lead the way in our workforce initiatives. And I think that wraps up kind of my ED report for those topics. I'll take any questions related to those specifics before I move on to our dashboard and our enrollment update.
Question about the KRAs.
Microphone.
My question is, the KRA scores, does that include does it include our numbers, our community providers, and CPS, or just community providers?
I'm sorry. asking about the score, the trend going down is statewide.
It's a statewide trend, but the scores that we usually report are both community providers and CPS students that have an identifiable match number for those students who attend a CPS classroom and are there at the time of administration of the care area. So it is not split with community providers, it is those that receive tuition assistance.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about NACY. That's a old and dear organization. I'm looking at Sally, not that she's old and dear, but that goes way back. So could you talk a little bit about the refresher, if you will, of NACY?
Well, sure. I'm not sure. I'll tell you what I do know. We have been very active in Swayze, which is our Southwest Ohio chapter. About 2 years ago, during the pandemic, NACY re-released their developmentally appropriate practice guidelines after almost, last revision was 6 years ago, I think, maybe 10 years ago. We sent that out as a thank you gift to all of our providers that got them that year. Well, since then, we've been actively involved in NACY because we believe many of the standards that they set for developmentally appropriate practice should be aligned with our targets and goals for what we say is kindergarten ready. So while the KRA score is one measurement of readiness for kindergarten, what we really encourage and what we've seen represents a high quality preschool environment is following those developmentally appropriate practice that NACY has outlined. We are an active member. We have provided members for certain cohorts of our community providers as well, because I'm not sure that everybody is aware of the wealth of services that NACY offers, from webinars to support services to discounts on insurance. So we encourage all of our community providers to be members of NACY. They have taken on a larger role in the last 3 to 5 years in terms of advocacy as well. And you will notice that in Alabama, we had a little bit of a controversy when their education commissioner, for lack of a better word, was able to turn around and for the first time for that state not to be on the bottom of educational attainment. They had really made some strong advances in early childhood education, but when she refused to budge from saying NACY standards were not at the top, not only because they are science and evidence-based, they are based on the wealth of practitioners, but they are also equity-based and recognizes historical disparities that we've had in early childhood education. Alabama considered that a little too woke, and she got fired. So you will see the growth of NACY as an organization is very closely aligned to the Preschool Promises mission, vision, and our core values, and we're proud to be a part. Is that helpful?
I'm sorry I left you out. You, I'm sure, remember NACY. Of course, go way back with NACY, National Association of Education Management.
Any other questions?
Anything else? Did I hit it? Is there something else I should share? Oh, okay.
I just thought that I'm a big fan of NACY. It's important. Maybe it's because I'm a tool.
Or know what's best for children. You will see our dashboard. We are green, 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 with the exception of what everyone is having a challenge with, and that is ECE staff supported. We are falling behind on our goal. I don't think that that will turn to green before the end of the year. The opportunities for us to do that are narrowing. You know, that includes things like sponsorship to the NFACC, the National Association of Family Child Care Conference. We awarded 10 scholarships. By the time, as of last week, of those 10 scholarships, we had at least 4 who are no longer working at their community preschool site. So this is workforce-related, nature of the beast, where we're falling behind. I would like to highlight, if you'll see, we're again at our tuition assistance goal of 102%, so we're knocking that out of the park consistently. So we didn't do many updates on this because it's been less than 3 weeks since we did this last presentation to you, but we did want to highlight and update the tuition assistance number. So I'll take a breath and see if anybody has questions about those numbers. And last, as always, we're sharing our enrollment sheet, our rock star number. I think we owe a hand of applause to our enrollment team because you will see our total processed applications this year is 1,375, with finally over 1,000 students for tuition assistance. So thank you. We finally hit that 1,000 number, right? You know, if we could get 1,000 attending regularly at a preschool is our next hurdle. So with that, that is the conclusion of my executive director's report.
Any questions? All right. Next, we'll move to the update on CPP reach and access from the innovations team. The big pieces of paper you have will be helpful in this. We got to preview this at the executive committee. I'm grateful we have this on bigger paper now. It will make a big difference.
Hello everyone. Innovation's been working hard over the past year to identify quality gap neighborhoods in Cincinnati. And what this map is showing is how our quality gap neighborhoods are defined as of December 2022. So neighborhoods were defined as quality gap based on their high quality or 3 to 5 star seed supply and the neighborhood's risk level relative to the rest of the city. So a quality gap neighborhood is, they're seen in red on the map. And these are at-risk and low-supply areas. We use these data, we use 5 variables to assess risk. And, these include median family income, percent of single-parent households, percent of high school diploma or higher, unemployment rates, and violent and property crime rates. And we use these data as a relative measure of risk and seed supply and of seed supply per preschool age child by Cincinnati neighborhood. So because this is relative, results are not generalizable outside of Cincinnati. This is not meant to provide a concrete definition of what constitutes low seed supply or high risk from a national perspective. Rather, this is more to help us identify the neighborhoods most in need here in Cincinnati, but namely where CPP's resources have the greatest amount of impact. So that's where our next maps here come into play. So now that we have a framework that we're working from, we can look at where preschool providers are placed among the neighborhood classification on the map. This map is showing all preschool providers as of March. This is just a screen cap of one of the larger map files we've created. You have this in your materials as well. In the original file, we're able to zoom in and get a closer look at what providers currently exist in these neighborhoods, and that's what's simulated on the right side of this slide. And the legend displays quality gap neighborhood classifications from the previous map. In addition, we have the purple boundary that represents the CPS district boundary, and which is there to illustrate how all preschool providers are falling in the CPS district footprint. And also each plotted point has a shape that represents the provider's type of program, namely child care centers, type A or type B providers. And lastly, the color of the points indicate the affiliation of the provider. So blue are the CPP tuition assistance providers, yellow are QI, purple are CPS, green are unaffiliated 3 to 5 star providers, and gray are the other 0 to 2 star providers. So this example zoomed in on West Bryce Hill. So one of the quality gap neighborhoods is West Bryce Hill, and as it is now, it looks a little cluttered. It's hard to differentiate, but you can see that the majority there are 0 to 2 star providers that are not affiliated with CPP's network. So here's the same map, and what we do here is we're filtering out other preschools, except for, in this case, CPP tuition assistance providers in the community-based network. And in the zoomed in section, you can see how we label the visible providers. It's a good example how we can use the data and the tools to identify specific providers within the neighborhood for strategic planning purposes. can see how we have 10 providers within the West Price Hill boundary, with an additional 2 in close proximity. This map is just showing the QI providers now. You can see how we have only 4 at the time that this data was compiled. Furthermore, three of the 4 are type B providers. That's another use of again, of the shapes that I described in the letter. And when we expand, if we want to expand 3 to 5 store seat capacity in West Price Hill, for example, a logical step would to make efforts to improve quality ratings of existing 0 to 2 star providers that are already in the CPP network. This is just a quick look, just to show the CPS preschools around Cincinnati. As you see here, there's just the one there in West Price Hill. But we really wanted to focus on this large collection of 0 to 2 star providers that are not affiliated with CPP. If we're interested in expanding CPP's network, we can see many potential candidates, and we can also envision ways we can decrease the deficit of high quality seats for the preschool age population. And resources are of course finite, and decisions must be made strategically, so we can use information like this to make reasonable goals. So moving forward, our goal is to maintain this as a template so that we can periodically update this information to provide resources for strategic planning. We're also looking to improve upon this process, so this is an ongoing process. We're looking to improve it and increase its accuracy. And we'll also be utilizing the quality gap neighborhood classifications in this year's evaluation report. So I'm going to stop there. If there's any questions that I can address.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, we'll go ahead with questions.
You got to pull it close to you, that's right.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm visual, so I love all of this. My question is, when you mentioned that there's potential for us to expand preschool promise in the West Price Hill area with the type A and type B, how do we go about partnering or initiating that possibility?
I think this is in response, and doing that is really how we map out our QI strategic plans for the remainder of the year. That is having 20 new providers is what we anticipate in the next cohort. It is also reaching out to those providers in collaboration with our coaching partners and with 4C, who helps us do recruitment as well, to determine if those providers, one, have an interest in moving up on the step up to quality scale, recognizing that there may be a disincentive for them to do that, given that PFCC may be available when they're at 0 to 2 stars, but preschool promise dollars may not, and building that into our strategic plan. Also building that into our budget. When we look at the preschool promise budget as we progress, what we had planned is that at the end of our 5-year levy cycle, we would be spending the least amount on quality improvement and the most amount on tuition assistance. What this map shows us is that there is an ongoing need to make an investment in quality improvement. If not, we're not going to be able to increase on the tuition assistance side. And so how we do that is looking at those who are willing, having competent coaching partners that say, how can you help us identify those, and helping people progress through that to reach high quality. And we have new kind of operational procedures on supply and equipment, because what we've realized is many of our providers also need the support that can only be given by a coach, because their challenges are related to managing or finding new staff, limited experience in how to operate a preschool, vacant seats from something that may be like the preschool director, right? How do we access public funds and resources that are available? Things that are at the onset, when we started quality improvement, it was a mad dash to get playground equipment and outground equipment and supplies, and now it looks very different. And that's what this map is showing us, so that you will see, because our outcomes have shown that our investment in tuition assistance is most beneficial to the families that have the most challenges, the most incomes, and the most risk, that we will target our investments in those large
I was curious, just anecdotally, because Preschool Promise and 4C have been going after every provider, every licensed provider, like crazy for a lot of years. That is a lot of gray dots there. And I'm wondering if, maybe anecdotally, we know who those people are. Are they serving low-income children? Are they, what makes them never have come into the fold yet?
So I have a couple of answers to that, right? Anecdotally, we can pull the data back out that talks about innovations, did a survey for us of providers that have never been involved in Preschool Promise to ask why, right? So we do have some insight into that. Also, we look monthly at what we call the footprint report. So every month we have a tally of knowing who's involved and who's not, who are the targets to reach out to, and how many people just said no thank you, right? Just no thank you, that's the reality of the world. So we can share that again because we do have some idea, but we also rely on 4C is the CCR&R that has the bigger picture of that, because sometimes it's not related at all to Preschool Promise, right? It is just the nature of where they are in the status, but we can pull that report up, bring that back to you, and send it out to let you know what the providers that were involved in that evaluation last year had to say about why they weren't involved and what may motivate them to be.
Okay, thank you. No question.
I have a couple of questions. One, are all of the providers licensed that you're working with in the net?
Yes.
They are. So, do you have the data, the raw data, as to approximately how many child care centers are in our service area, and how many type A's and B's?
Yes.
You have that data?
That comes on our footprint report from 4C is the CCR&R, that every month we look at that total. We used to report a percentage where we knew of the 5-star providers that were in the region that were accepting PFCC, that we had the majority of those. I mean, I think there were probably less than 10 that were in our footprint, 5-star PFCC, that we weren't part of the Preschool Promise Network, but we know that has changed. So overall total numbers, if you would like to see kind of uptake percent of those that are involved with us, we can produce those numbers for you.
And one final thing, if I may add to the conversation that you and Sally was having a long time ago, 8 or 9 years ago, some research was done on the availability of these providers in our counties, and one of the things, and that was on the Head Start. But to answer your question about not reaching all of the providers, what I found out through that study is that a number of providers are licensed but never have children in their homes. And so those providers are counted when we counted available space. Also, that provider change, like Sally said, I know that 4C's been working with this group, and so has Head Start for a long period of time. But what we found is about 20% of A's and B's turn over per year, where they get out the business and new one coming in. So it's not like the same providers have been there for 30 years. You do have some like Terry and some others that provided quality services for years, but the most of them are, for whatever reason, whether it's violation of license or whatever, close their doors and then new ones come on. So it's constantly contacted. So, but that was old data. It could be very well different now as to reaching out to all providers, because there is a turnover, and when we give the number of how many licensed facilities are in each community or neighborhood, that is based by the state number of individuals that have been licensed, and not all of those homes
are receiving or have children in them. So just
Thank
wanted
you.
to add that.
No, thank you for that. I think that continues to be accurate, and I would say we even have providers that are in the CPP network, particularly as a result of the pandemic, who have said to us, we are maintaining our license, but we are not accepting children or students at this time. And I think at our last count it was 14 providers that we may have had on our tuition assistance high. You said just we're not ready for enrollment. So to keep in mind when we look at this and all this great work, this is licensure capacity, not the real world, right? So to keep in mind, there are a lot of gaps in this, but this is as accurate as we can get, right? But that is always a caveat, capacity versus action.
Great questions. Anyone for Peter while we have him here? All right, well, thank you so much. These tools will continue to help us to think about our investments and judge how we're doing as we move forward with this, so thank you. Next on our agenda is contract renewals. Looks like we have 2 that are up for approval and 1 that's up for information. Shar, I'll turn it over to you for this.
Thank you so much, and I apologize for not itemizing these on your agenda as I have done in the past. We have 2 scope of works that are being presented for renewal. As you know, last year we issued the RFP, identified these 2 vendors. What you will see is updates to the scope of work, and we kind of did something new this year to send you a summary sheet that you will see in your packets at pages 26 and 31 that talks about performance, recommendations of the staff, and overall kind of highlights of any significant changes to the scope of work. And the request is for discussion now and to allow approval for these 2 scopes of work so that our partners, Learning Grove and 4C for Children, can continue with these coaching contracts. You will also notice that we built in, with the Master Services Agreement and the scope of work that was agreed upon last year, a 5% increase to the hourly wage.
I have a question. We have 2 providers, and they are serving different amount of providers. If I just throw this statement out here, why do we have 2 providers instead of 1?
When we did the RFP and put it out, we were open to having as many as 4 to provide it based on the qualified ones that were able to do it. One of the reasons is that they serve different groups and different populations, and in some cases, we did not want to break the relationships that those entities and coaches had with their other partners, and we thought 2 qualified vendors were the way to go to do this and establishing those relationships. You will see that 1, 4C for Children, coaches the majority, but there is also a small number that are coached by women.
But in the future, after the renewal of these contracts, that could be reevaluated.
That could be reevaluated, and I think we would probably go a little bit toward the other side and having perhaps some smaller individuals that may be interested in doing some specialized coaching as well. Based on when we RFP it out again, who is most qualified to do that?
So any other questions on either of these? The staff recommendation for both in the packet is a recommendation of renewal. If there are any other questions, we'll vote on them separately, but before that, I want to make sure everyone's had time to ask any questions or discuss anything they want to discuss. Okay, so we'll start with the Learning Grove one is first in the packet on page 26. All in favor of renewal, please say aye. All opposed, nay.
I'd like to abstain, please.
Debbie abstaining. So that is renewed. And then the next one is on page 31. That's for 4C. Again, a recommendation of renewal from the staff. All in favor of renewing, please say aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain.
All opposed, please say nay. Anyone else abstaining in addition to Terry? Okay, so both of them are approved for renewal. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the peanut butter and jam musical journeys.
So as you all,
In the blue dot, okay. As you know, we are always excited to partner with PB&J. This has been a fantastic partnership. We started it as a result of pitch night. We were also able to leverage private funds, not only from the Village Preschool, but through a very generous grant from Children's Hospital to support musical journeys in Avondale preschools. This is a continuation for another year of the Musical Journeys program at the cost of $67,000 to offer that individual weekly instruction in the classroom, as well as the $5,000 for the Back to Preschool Jam that you know we do as a kickoff. This is level funding, same amount with no increase as last year, but allows us to continue the program for another year with our great partners. Also, we are very pleased to say that some of our preschool providers are expanding it. We knew that we could not continue or afford to continue the program through the extended learning session in the summer, and at least 2 of our providers found funds in their resources and able to do that, so they're continuing with musical journeys through the summer. And we are working very strategically with PB&J to see how we can continue to bring more resources to bear. Right now, we are able to meet the demand with this level of classroom instruction, and I think you will see from the evaluation the benefits in social emotional learning and performance that this has shown to our preschoolers that participated.
Any questions? Marcia?
We have a technical point, please.
Sir, we did not, if we can just very quickly go back and through those last 2 contracts, we didn't have a motion in this.
Okay, good call. We'll go back and redo it. Is there a motion to approve the coaching and quality improvement services? For Learning Grove first. Moved by Ross, second by Sally. Is anyone's vote different than last time? I believe it was unanimous approval with Deb abstaining for that one. Anyone vote different than last time? Okay, so that one is approved. Next, is there a motion to approve the 4C contract? Deb moved, second I heard over here. Is anyone's vote different than it was the last time we did it, which I believe was unanimous with Terry abstaining? All right, there we go. Thank you for that, Marcia.
She did that on her own.
And well,
I do have a question on the.
yeah, let's do discussion, and then I'll make sure I do it right and do a motion for peanut butter and jam. So let's start with discussion and questions. Go ahead if you're first.
Sure, if you can just remind me, how do the providers sign up for PB&J?
We circulated in the newsletter and asked for volunteers to make sure that we can meet all the need that's out there. We also do pointed emails to those who in the past have expressed an interest in extracurricular program, and we also ask our provider council if they would like to participate and how they promote it among their peers. So far we have not had to turn anyone away. If we did, it would be because they are not in compliance with the rules and regulations and have to get that done before they can participate in the CPP Plus program.
Do we have a rubric or some type of data that's saying that this is really working, or it's just the opinion from the providers?
So it is, we do get concrete data from the evaluation, and if you recall, Grace, who is with the innovations team, did a whole poster evaluation presentation at their conference for which she won an award, saying the impact of musical journeys. What we did with that is take a provider snapshot, right? Do an actually validated assessment of that, and also let the children vote on what they thought of that as well. So you will see that again in our evaluation and how we look at PB&J and see the impact. What I will tell you is not measured is the level of parent engagement, because if you would have been at the concert at CAA in that room of 120 pizza-eating parents, it is just remarkable to see how encouraged they are by that. And it also serves as our once-a-year annual vehicle for our back-to-school jam. It is the only community-wide event that we have as Preschool Promise that brings together parents, providers, and our vendors.
Any other questions or discussion on this?
One other question. During our next pitch night, are we opening that up for additional agencies to come forth and do something along this line?
So unfortunately, future pitch nights are not in our budget. What we are trying to do is to reach back to all of the finalists who were pitch nights before to see if we could do incremental levels of support to those who were favored and endorsed. So that's why you'll see us partnering with American Legacy Theater and trying to reach back through literacy and language arts, Mission to Move, and new partnerships with them. If the budget does allow for us to have another pitch night, we will probably seek that. It will be much narrower in the future because it needs to very carefully align with our strategic plan. When we did pitch night before, we did not have a fully blown out strategic plan that said these are the CPP plus activities that we're trying to drive. So it was wide open. And so now it would really need to be focused that when we sought those vendors or innovative ideas, that they were driving one of those objectives that we're trying to reach by 2025. Instead of pitch night, it is our commitment when we do that landscape assessment, as you know, of family resources and plans, that we also do with that an assessment of what funding sources are available there. Because without funding for those initiatives that serve families, then it's really not accessible. So you'll see a match with that when we present that plan to you in 2025. And fingers crossed that we'll be frugal enough to sponsor another pitch night.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Is there a motion that we approve the peanut butter and jam musical journeys? Is there a second? We got it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay, so we've approved that as well. And the final item in this is just information. It doesn't require board approval today, but that's program eligibility and customer service.
Negotiations are continuing with Metrics IQ. I wanted you to be aware that we are continuing on that month-to-month that the board approved in last year. There will be a fee adjustment to that. That fee adjustment will not exceed the board-approved budget. At this time, I don't want to say specifically what that approved fee will be in the course of negotiations. What we hope is that by the August meeting, we will have a refined scope of work. But from our perspective, Metrics has gone on with us for good faith for 11 months at a rate for an extension that we thought was going to last 3 months, without any increase for the last almost 3.5 years. They're at a critical point where they have said to us, it is hard for us to maintain our staff and level of service at that continued rate. We do have an increase in our budget. So while we continue that month to month, when we bring the final scope of work to you for review and the budget amount in August, please know that we're continuing in that month to month, and there may be an incremental increase in the monthly fee that we provide to them.
Any questions? Okay, next we'll move to committee reports. I'm first with the executive committee. We met last week and had a really nice meeting. Much of the time was spent looking at the maps and data from innovations that everyone got to see tonight. So that was the biggest focus there, and led to some good discussion as well. The other item that we discussed a little bit was the status of our budget presentation to CPS, and also discussions about master agreement. I have been in pretty close contact with the chair of the board of CPS about both of those items. Generally, what we discussed in the executive committee and where I think the direction we'll head is not heard any real pushback on any of the budget presentation that Sharon Hector and I did at the CPS budget committee. And we're generally of the expectation that that will be approved as presented. Nothing's been expressed to me otherwise. I guess you never know until you know, but that's my view and my hope. As far as what we're then able to do for the year, everything in the original master agreement says that if we come to them and discuss things and say, here's what we want to do, and they say, go ahead, that's all well and good. So that hopefully will give us the runway at least to execute on the goals and the budget that we've set out for ourselves for the upcoming year. Once we are past that, where Ben and I, the chair of the CPS board, Ben Lindy and I are going to work on outlining the best process to talk about master agreement stuff into the future and figure out the best way to have some of those discussions. Certainly that will move slower than the budget stuff will. And I will continue to provide updates as we have that. We do have a kind of special committee we've made on our board for master agreement discussions. And that's where we'll handle a lot of that. Of of course, report back both to the executive committee and here to the full board. Any questions for me on the executive committee meeting?
So, in summary, we are where we were 18 months ago.
I guess.
And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus.
Well, I guess I want to understand what you're asking.
That's not, I mean.
That's not a negative.
Yeah, but I think we need to just kind of summarize.
If you are asking that as a summary to the second part of what I said, of master agreement discussions and what that document looks like, yes, I would agree. The first part of us saying, here's what we want to do for the upcoming year, and them hopefully saying, go ahead and here's the money, is I think a giant step from where we were 18 months ago. Any other questions on that? Okay, and next is the governance committee. So over to you, Deb.
First of all, I would like to say that we met a couple of weeks ago, and I have three things to present. If you would turn to page 48 of your packet, it's agenda item number 7. We have under the column 2023 class, we have 5 X's. I'd like to point out 2 first. Deborah Alsop and Bishop Ennis Tate. We are founding members of the Preschool Promise Board, not the, but among that group, and our terms will expire with no possibility of renewal. So there will be 2 new board members, one from CPP and one from Promise Forward. The next 3 are Anthony Hobson, Ross Meyer, and Christy Phillips. You all will be so pleased that you can serve another 3-year term. So I have sent out letters to the 3 nominating organizations informing them of the vacancies, and also specifically with respect to Anthony, Ross, and Christy, stating that they are eligible for another 3-year term and that they would be in the class of 2026 if nominated by those organizations. So the plan is to wait until maybe the end of August to try to hear from those organizations as to where they stand with their nominations and get back to this board in August with the class of 2026. I do want to add a personal note. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve on this board, but all good things must come to an end. So I will miss you all, and Bishop Tate and I are, again, very pleased to have served. The next thing that I have to report is we talked about board education, and in our yearly outline, we are supposed to have some form of board education every quarter or so. So we will have board education next month, and it will be globally the legislative area, what's happening in early childhood, and we also make it down to a very micro level of what is step up to quality. I raised a question today about NACE. So, you know, it's going to be kind of an open forum. I don't know if the plan is to have a panel on the legislative end, but we'll leave that up to Shara's handiwork.
We will have a panel, as we've done in the past. This week was not the week for me to invite people to do that, but most likely we'll have some people that will be from Columbus that will be facilitating that panel discussion and plenty of opportunity to answer questions as well.
And the third thing is the good old board self-evaluation. Those of you of us who've been on this board for some time, we had what I'll call a board evaluation. It was great. We never did anything with the results, so we're hoping that this time we'll have maybe a similar kind of design, and that will be in the first quarter of next year. There will be a tool, we'll have a facilitator. I think there are a couple of facilitators that we are looking at and may have more information in the August or September time frame about that. So, anybody from governance want to add anything?
Maybe when do the terms expire?
For September.
September.
So at the board meeting, Bishop Tate and I will receive our plaques, and we've already requested what we want. So we don't want any surprises.
I'm not sure I can carry two to a meeting after the last one we had. Christine.
That's why I
Yeah.
asked.
Thank you for that report, Debbie. Any questions on the governance committee report? All right. Next we have observers' comments. Vera, in true form, I think you're the only one of the observers here. Do you have any comments you'd like to add?
No, hope everyone's having a nice summer.
Thank you. We appreciate it, and thanks for your regular attendance at the meetings. We've made it through our agenda, so it might be early to dinner, actually. I should have made an earlier reservation. But thank you, everyone, for all the work that you're doing. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for the work that you're all doing, and for these meetings being the good discussion that we have, and helping the staff and their efforts to move progress forward. Really appreciate it. I think there is a motion from Laura to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. I think that was Terry. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.